so different. Good morning, good morning, good morning, my beautiful people. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your morning with We Are Not So Different. I appreciate you tremendously. This week is pretty cool. Our guest, Mr. Deonte Bolden. How you doing, Deonte?
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for joining me this morning. You're super busy, and I understand what it takes to juggle a schedule, so I appreciate you spending time with We Are Not So Different this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
No problem. So, y'all know the drill. Find your favorite spot on the couch, get ready, find your favorite drink, whether it's Kool-Aid or Cavassier, and just get ready to tune into this conversation. So, I'm going to give Mr. Deonte a brief introduction because he's got so much going on. So, Mr. Deonte is an award-winning author, writer, actor, filmmaker, playwright, and host of DNA Podcast. I really, really love the premise of the podcast, which has a lot to do with encouraging and inspiring others along their journey to success. And it deals with them not being, or them being able to also proclaim and acknowledge their faith along the way, which I think is huge. So, Mr. Deonte Bolden.
Thank you. Love the introduction.
No problem, no problem. I think that I really admire the fact that you're purposely making the determination to acknowledge your faith along this road, because I feel like sometimes people forget, and I don't, and this is not me shaming anyone. We all go through whatever, but once you reach that peak or that plateau and you're like, okay, I made it, but you forget like how you got there. So I think it's cool that you inspire and encourage people to continue acknowledging your faith and continue to growing in your faith. And you can have both. You can have it all and still be Christian. You know what I'm saying? I say it a lot. Like, I enjoy my Christian walk. I'm excited to be a believer. Like, in a time where the Christian name is probably drugged through the mud a lot, but it's not what people think it is, right?
Right, and I think it's a big reason of doing it is because it's a part of who you are. When you're really have a relationship with God and you know who God is, it's very important to make sure that we acknowledge that. It's like it has to be a part of my conversation. It has to be a part of what I do, because he's a part of me. And just like you say, you get so many people, we get lost in it, and people only want to remember it when it's beneficial for them, when they win their little award. It's like, I thank God, and it's nothing judgmental, but it's like we got to make sure that God is truly a part of what it is that we do, especially when you're doing something that deals with ministry. Everything that I touch is just very sensitive, and it's like you want to make sure that you're impacting people's lives, and God has to be really a part of that in order for it to be effective. So and I appreciate that, and I'm glad that people notice that, because I try my hardest to make sure that people understand that through my creativity.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And then it's at the same time, okay, this is me. So I do, I get stuck in rabbit holes all the time, my friends know. But I had like a little rabbit hole while you were talking. I'm like, and then you get the chance to like infiltrate like systems, right? Because you can walk into a studio or walk into a production and just like exude the love of Christ and not necessarily browbeat someone or Bible thump them, you know what I'm saying? But you can like exude the love of Christ. So you're like the Trojan horse, like in like of
And
the
that's a big part of what I do, and you must know me because through this Zoom, because that's what I want. Part of what I pride myself on my production company and what I do is I don't have to shove the Bible down your throat, but as long as you come and you have an experience of one of my productions, or you come on set and work with me, or you are around me, that you get God in a way that you've never experienced before. Because sometimes you're just the only Bible that people read. Some people will never pick up a Bible and open it and read it, but it's just been around you and exuding your environment and what you have and what you're creating, and people just wanting to know, okay, this is something different. What is it about this person? What do I need to know? Who do you serve?
Yes.
Who's your master? So
Okay.
it's that kind of thing. So
That's
yeah,
what I'm talking about, Deonte. Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I guess we should start with questions eventually. So the first question, um, if you had the undivided attention of an audience of your choosing, who would that said audience be, and what would you tell them?
If I had a choice of an audience that I could get in front of, it would be the single young black male homes. Those single. I mean, the children the young boys who grew up and didn't have a father, the fatherless children. Because the reason is because I went through so many different things over the years of not having my father actively in my life. My father and I, we just built our relationship now that I'm grown, but my mom and dad divorced when I was 4 years old, and I was in a single family home, had a single mother, and a lot of times we question our manhood, who we are. We go through these painful experiences and this identity crisis of not knowing, okay, well, who am I? Am I good enough to be married? Am I good enough to say that I'm a man and all of those things? So if I could really just have that audience, I would definitely want to just speak to that, and the brokenhearted people, I pride myself on making sure that I create, content that can really speak to people who've been through trauma and past experiences and pains, because we don't talk about those things. We like to sweep a lot of things under the rug
Right.
as the African American community. And I really want to be able to, the Deonte Bolden Productions, we said we expose the wounds while allowing God to do the healing. We're not here to try to
Yes,
heal
wait.
you.
I need you to say that again, louder for the people in the back. Don't just glide over
Yeah,
that. Say it one more
is
time.
that we pride ourselves in exposing the wounds while allowing God to do the healing. And it lets us realize that it's just our job to talk about it. God does the healing. A lot of times we want to try to do both. We want to try to talk about it and then give people the healing. Sometimes all you got to do is just pull the bandage off the wound, let it be exposed, and let God do the healing in the midst of it. Talking about those issues and bringing them to the forefront, and exposing what the enemy wants to keep hidden, and then allow God to come in and do the work. When people come and see your productions, you're talking about a lot of things, and it fire people up. And sometimes people don't want to talk about those things, and in the midst of it, people are getting the healing that they need, and that gives God the opportunity to come in and do what He does best, and that's heal.
I love that. I
Mm-hmm.
love that. So that is that. It almost sounds like a mission statement. Like, is that
Yeah.
like? Is
Mm-hmm.
it?
It's our
Yes.
mission statement.
Yes. I love that. And may the Lord, let it be so, God, that they continue to make that like their vision, and that be your like purpose, because that's huge. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're doing like movies and all these other kind of things. So it's like you have the capacity to touch like the nations, not just US. Like you have oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this isn't in the questions or whatever, but like, okay, wait, Andrea, put a pin in that. Bing, I'm gonna ask you something. Bing, I'm putting a pin in it.
All right.
No, I'm gonna ask you now. So what started what how did this come to be? Like with a vision like that, with a mission statement like that, I would dare say that God would have had to given that to you. Like what was your inspiration for starting this whole business?
Well, I started out being an actor, and then in the midst of acting, I used to live in Los Angeles. I went out there. I was like, I just want to be an actor. But in the midst of that, I was also seeing content and been around a lot of things, going to church, being raised in the church. I got frustrated often a lot because people are going through so many different things, and the times have changed so drastically. We have children and young people and older people too that are just going through things that are just so different than what we experience in the past. But a lot of times when you go to church, it's like sometimes you're not getting what you need because people don't want to talk about certain things.
So true.
They don't want to talk about certain issues that goes on. Instead, they want to condemn, and they just want to kind of sweep it under the rug. But as I started getting into acting, it was just a lot of things that God was just showing and revealing to me, and that I wanted to talk about and discuss, and things that I went through personally. And sometimes you can't find it in the church on a sermon on a Sunday because people don't want to preach about those things. So I just wanted to use my voice and my platform to really did dive deep into a lot of the issues. One thing that I personally struggled with was, just my sexuality growing up, because I was in a single family home, and my mom was raising me and my dad wasn't in my picture. I went through a lot of times questioning my own sexuality and things like that. And because of that, I wanted to really put things like that into my writing, because on Sundays, you don't really hear pastor talking about it. There was one time that I actually went to a church where pastor actually got up and talked about it. And I connected with that pastor because I felt like it resonated with something that I was going through. And, we don't want to be transparent anymore. We want to just, I'm holy. I've been holy all my life.
Lies.
And it's like we all have different things that we go through. And
Yes.
so I really just I said, Lord, if I'm going to write and I'm going to create, let me be able to talk about issues that are relevant to today's time that can resonate with people, that people can be like, oh my God, this is what I'm going through with. And not just Christian entertainment can be very redundant sometimes. We want to do the Mary and Joseph and Abraham, and those stories are all great, but it's like also to give me some meat, give me something that I can really hold on to and feel like that I'm learning something from, or I'm evolving.
Yeah.
Give me something. I feel like Christian entertainment, we have to be more transparent so we can be able to get to the people,
Yeah.
especially of this new generation. So.
You touched on a really good point. You said nobody wants to be transparent. And I am a huge proponent of, like, let's have those taboo conversations. You said everybody wants to say, oh, I've always been holy. Lies you tell. Stop it right now. It's like nobody wants to talk about everyone wants to talk about the good, but nobody wants to talk about the bad and the ugly. Give me the whole story. Give me the, oh my gosh. Like, I don't know if you've listened to some of my episodes, but like, I will put all my business out there. If it will help somebody avoid what I went through, yes, give me the bad and the ugly. Take a chance, be vulnerable, be transparent. And you would like you said, you connected with that pastor. There's like a sea of people who are yearning for someone that they can relate to. They think they're alone. And the fact of the matter is you really not. And you got somebody that is holding on to your healing, holding on to your deliverance, but so worried about what somebody else gonna think about that they're gonna keep it to themselves. And you know what? Who got time for that, right?
Right. And it's scary sometimes when you are transparent because you feel like, okay, well, if I come out and I say this, then people are going to look at me a certain type of way. But it's like, I also look at the enemy. The enemy is very clever. It's like, if you don't expose it, then he'll find a way to expose it for you. So why not go ahead and just tell, the things that you've been through, so the enemy doesn't have anything to hold on to you about, because we all want to we don't want to live in bondage. We want to live in freedom. And part of you going through that trial is so it can be a testimony. God wants to use it for your good. The Bible even says what the enemy means for bad, God means for our good. And that's sharing our testimony and being able to talk and be transparent about where we went, where we come from, and where we're going. And I think that's really missing in the Christian community. And that's why I've created platforms like DNA Podcasts and Productions, and even wrote my book. It's because I feel like it's time for us to stop hiding in the dark and come out in the light. We're supposed to be the light. So part of light is shining and talking about our experiences, because you just never know whose deliverance is attached to your destiny and what it is that you need to share and bring, to the forefront.
Yes. I feel like we could hang out, like in real life. Like, we could hang out. Like, you could be my buddy. Okay. So if you had the opportunity to speak to a younger version of yourself, let's say 5 or 6-year-old little Deonte, what do you think he would need to hear?
To be confident in himself. I grew up being very, my confidence level, I had low self-esteem growing up, and I really didn't think that I was the best. And I would say to the younger me that you're good enough. It took me a while to realize that I am good enough. I grew up not feeling, I felt like when I grew up, I felt like I was in a disadvantage because I had a brother with a disability. I didn't have my mom and dad together. So, and even during the passing of my brother, I always felt like things were just taken from me.
Mm.
And I just felt like I wasn't worthy of happiness. I felt like I wasn't worthy of being loved. And I felt like I was just worthless. And I would say to the old me, that you're good enough, and everything that you're going through with now is going to be a part of your destiny in the future. And now that I look back on what I've been through, it's like, had I not went through those things, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be this creative person. And I've used all of my painful experiences to push me towards my purpose. So
Yes, I love it.
yeah.
And that's a good segue. Ooh, your book, Purpose Pains,
Yeah.
about how you overcame a multitude of personal challenges by grace and faith through in God. Explain, expound.
Yeah. So yeah, Purpose Pains was just a book that it's amazing. I love Clubhouse. If you're not on Clubhouse, I suggest that people get on there. I was
I'm
actually in a
not on
club.
that.
Yes. If you have an iPhone, then let me know. I'll send you an invite. It's beautiful. And Clubhouse is just we had a group I was in that was talking about grieving, and people were just talking about how long it really took them to grieve. So when I did my stage production, Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places. Before then, I tried to write a book because the pastor was like, you really need to start getting onto a book because you have a lot of things to say to God's people. And I tried in 2017, I sat in front of that computer and I couldn't think of anything. When I tell you God moves, because after my stage production was a success, I thought I was just going to relax and not do nothing creative. And God was like, okay, it's time to do this book. And I was like, Lord, what am I going to write about? And God just broke it down. Let's talk about pain, but use it in an inspirational way. When we think of pain, we think of negativity. But what I wanted to do with my book, Purpose Space, I wanted to talk about how our painful experiences lead to our purpose. Embrace your painful experiences, because they're not just painful experiences to bring you down, but it's to push you closer towards your destiny. So I break down the acronym of PAINS. P is for preparation. Learn that God is preparing us for where He wants to take us. We want to be successful, but we don't want to go through anything.
Mm.
And God is like, it's time for you to prepare. A is for adaptation. And, now that you are in the situation you are and you lost that loved one, you lost that job, how do you adapt from this? And what are you going to learn from this experience? I is for illumination. Sometimes we say in our darkest moments that it seems like people have abandoned us. It's like, no, they haven't abandoned you. God is just removing those people. Because sometimes people we attach to our history and not our destiny. Some people we just need to let go and move from that. And then God shines light within us. Why are we still attached to people that we don't need to be attached to? What's within us that needs to be removed? And it's for navigation. Navigating. Sometimes we think that when we go through certain experiences that we're off the track and course that God has for us, and God is like, we're not that powerful. You're still on that road that I have for you, no matter how many times you reroute. And then S is for supplication, just learning how, even though in our painful experiences, sometimes God just wants to hear from us. We're so busy, we're so wrapped up and caught up into other things. It's like God is allowing you to go through things because He wants to talk to you. He wants to
Yeah.
have that, communication with you. So that's what Purpose Pains is. And when readers leave this book, I want them to look at their painful experiences. It's not an opportunity to be defeated, but an opportunity to be conquer and reach their destiny and embrace and say, you know what, I'm going through all of this because God has something great in store for me.
Wow. That was like, you went through it so seamlessly, and I get it because you wrote it, right? So you're living
Yeah.
this book. But at the same time, it's like, I think you could take each and every one of those acronyms, the P, the A, the I, the N, and like either preach a sermon or do like a whole like
Yeah.
being a seminary about it. So wow.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm taking the time trying to just like digest everything that you just said, but it's like this has a very personal feel for you. Like you can tell when someone is writing to write and is writing from a reservoir, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. And this, it feels very personal.
It
For
was.
like, yeah, like you're coming from a place with it.
Yeah, and I think for me, it was a part of my grieving experience. I realized that I hadn't grieve the death of my brother until I was able to put those personal experiences in there. And it was therapeutic for me, you know. I felt like to me it was my own introspective autobiography that I was sharing with people and letting people know, look, you know, because if I'm going to talk about pain, I got to talk about my own pain because I have to be transparent. That's what we're going back to transparency. And I can't sit up here and just say, hey, this is purpose pains and not talk about what I've been through. And I just felt like, you know, that God had me go through everything. And this was my opportunity to share my own personal testimony with people. And this was, you know, me saying, hey, I'm encouraging you, but this is what I've been through. This is how I overcame it. And this is how you can overcome it too.
You can do it. Yes,
Yeah.
encourage the people. So one of the things you said, that painful experiences and opportunities to grow, and you mentioned a spiritual awakening. And recently I had a conversation with a friend who was like, the hard fought lessons stick. So one, would you say that this statement rings true? And then if you can, like, it's not like personal, because if it is, I'm not, but like, can you describe that true spiritual awakening that you experienced?
And what was the first question again? Because I heard you a little bit and then you went left.
No worries. I had a friend who said that the hard fought lessons stick. And I said, would that ring true with you as it pertains to your journey and processing this pain and going through the grieving process?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the hard lessons do stick because, you know, those are the things that you remember the most. And that's those hard and painful experiences are the ones that really teach you the most lessons, you know, out of it. I think even when losing my brother, it taught me a lesson to not take life for granted and to make sure that I'm, you know, achieving goals. And, you know, my brother was young and he wasn't creative like I was, but he made such an impact in people's lives because he was a smile and he was a joy to be around. And I just really wanted that for myself, even too, you know, to kind of model after that. And I was like, wow, my brother, he lived 22 years, but he made such an impact. And everything that people had to say about him was that his smile brought joy to their lives. And I wanted to make sure that I, you know, bring that around as well. You know, I tried to make sure that I treat everybody with kindness and love. So, you know, when I leave this earth, that people can see the God and the Christ in me. And my spiritual awakening was just, I think, around that time as well too. You know, I was going to church, but I wasn't really serious about God the way that I should have been. You know, I was the church goer. My mom kept us in church, but me and God, we had a battle because after my brother passed, I pretty much had given up on God, and I was like, you know what, you know, you're taking someone who truly means a lot to me, and I can't serve a God like that. But then God, as gentleman as He is, He comes back around and opens that door for a relationship again, and it was my true spiritual awakening of understanding that, you know, we can't punish God for the things that happen in life. We have to just trust Him in the process and know that He knows what's best, you know, for us more than we know what's best for ourselves. So that was my true spiritual awakening. And, you know, this book gave me a second spiritual awakening because it just reminded me, like, look at all the things that you've been through and look where God has brought you from and look how you've overcome these things. There's nothing that you can't overcome, you know, and nothing that you can't do. And if I do have to overcome it, then it's going to be a purpose pains part 2, and I can talk about it. You know, so.
Yes, I love it.
Yes.
I love that part, and it was really quick, but it was really substantial. And I need my listeners and everyone watching and listening to know. You said you had a part where you were going to church, but you weren't like really into it, and your relationship with God was on the rocks. People, everyone, every believer will go through something like this. It's not where it's all Skittles and puppy dogs and rainbows all the time. No, if you are a believer and you're saying that you've never experienced any kind of thing like that, you're lying, the truth ain't in you. Go ahead and let people know that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to ask God the questions. He's not afraid of your questions. He's not offended by your questions. And He already knows what you're thinking, so you might as well ask Him anyway.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
it's huge, right? If you can't be vulnerable with yourself and if you can't be vulnerable with God, then what kind of relationship is that anyway? Anyway, I say all that to say, don't be spending your life thinking, oh, God is not going to accept me because I'm not perfect or I'm whatever. No, have the conversation. We've all been there. It's okay. It's normal. You're not alone.
Yes, and those conversations have to be had because there were so many times where growing up in church, when you go to those southern churches, where people, and I think it's just the heat or something in the South, where people just where people just really don't want to talk about those things. And it's like it's so much needed because there's people that actually go to church and have this one foot in and one foot out, but eventually you have to make a choice. But people feel like that they're unworthy of having a relationship with God because they've been through things or they've done things. And it's like, there's people who sitting right next to you in the church who are still fighting, and that are still, some people who just don't have a relationship with God.
Yeah.
And we are so deceived and we think that we have to be perfect. And it's like, no, God, accepts our imperfections. It's just about the heart and where you really want to go. And if you really want to have a relationship with God, so I just encourage people, with that, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all together. You're going to mess up. You're going to fall.
Yes.
But you just got to get back on, and you just have to keep, pushing forward and evolving over time. So.
Yes. You got me ready to pass the offering plate this morning, Deonte. Doggone
Yes.
it. Okay. So, award-winning or award-nominated playwright looking for love in all the wrong places. Tell us more.
Yeah, so Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places is my first stage production I put on in 2019, September 13th and 14th of 2019. And it's basically a stage production that I wrote. It was almost like a letter to my mom because my mom, her and my dad divorced back in 1994. But over the years, I've just seen my mom always want to be in relationships, be in a relationship with someone to be loved. And I've seen her in, various relationships that wasn't, good for her. It was really just me, giving a message, to wait on God. Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places is about a group of successful women in the medical field. They're all successful. They have their successful careers and lives. And the thing that they want to do is be in love like every average woman, fall in love. And because of that, they rush into these various relationships with these guys because they feel like they are having this discussion. My biological clock is ticking. If I'm going to get married, and I need to get married now, and I don't have this much time to wait. And they're infatuated with the idea of being in love instead of really just seeking God and wanting to find someone who can truly love them. So because of that, they rush into these various relationships and they end up falling in love with their worst enemy in different ways. And because of that, they pay the price for that. And in the end, they realize that, hey, if I'm going to wait and I'm going to be in a relationship, I need to learn how to wait on God and not lean on my own understanding. So it's just basically a message about that. It's a powerful message. It's a lot of twists and turns in it. And it's a lot that the audience just went crazy because it's just a wonderful, diverse cast. And I just really just wanted to tell the story of, we want love, but if we don't wait on God, then we can rush into relationships that just really can do more harm than it can do good for us. So I really wanted to tell that story.
Wow. Wow. Okay. The award-nominated show, DNA Podcast. Mm-hmm. So I know we talked a little bit earlier about how that came to be. When did you first start the DNA Podcast?
We started it over it was right before Corona started being reckless last year. And
brought it out in these streets.
Yes, I was actually in the middle of casting for a co-host because me and one of the girls who was in my play, Jazz, she was me and her, we were talking about it, and I was like, I really want to do something, to really just talk to people, and have a show where we could just be Christian, but we could be relatable and, talk to different people from all walks of life. So we were actually going through the casting process, and right when I had scheduled my auditions that week, the world was shut down. It was like, you can't go nowhere, stay in the house, don't do nothing. So I was going to put it to the side. I was like, okay, Lord, I guess I'll wait till when Rona's over with. And then God was like, no, I think Rona's going to be here for a while, so you might as well get started now. So, I ended up getting an email from my second co-host. And she was like, I see what you guys are doing. She was like, I really want to be a part of this. This is great, beloved. And we just got together. I was like, okay, Lord, we can't go into our studio right now because I had a studio book where we were going to just do our taping and all that stuff. And I had to cancel with the guy. And then God was like, okay, why don't you just stream? You know, do something where you could do now. You all three are in your different areas. Because one of my co-hosts, she's in Alabama, and
Wow.
she's like, you guys could stream from here and do what you do. So we got together and we decided to start in April of last year doing our first episode. And basically, the DNA podcast is a bunch of, three Christian, artists who come together and we discuss transparency. We open up about our lives, our walk with God. We talk about various topics and discussions, and we say we're discovering, nurturing, applying God's word to our everyday lives. We have fun, we joke, we laugh, we talk, and we just have regular discussions. Sometimes we don't agree on everything. But we just love each other. We love God. We come together. We have amazing hosts. Amazing guests. And we just have fun. We have some great segments. One of my favorite segments is My Cup Has Runneth Over.
Uh-oh.
And that's when we talk about what we are sick of hearing or
Oh,
what we're
Lord.
sick or tired of seeing. And we just have fun with it. It's an amazing. I love them. We've become like sisters and brothers. We text all the time and we just have an amazing time.
I love it. I love it. I love when people take something that they love and then it becomes like their job. Like, because that's the ultimate, right? Like, you want to be able to love what you do. And it sounds like you really do. So kudos to you and the DNA team. I'm excited for all you guys got going on.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, in our previous discussion off camera, we talked about a project that you're working on. I don't know if I'm at liberty to mention. Was there talks of a book? Can we talk about that or not yet?
Yeah, well, it's in the editing process now. So
Okay.
I'm still talking about it. So yeah, it's a children's book coming. It's called Differently Abled. It's coming out May 18th of this year, which is
It's
my
coming.
birthday. Yes.
It's what?
So
Whose birthday?
it's my birthday. That'll be my birthday. I'm releasing my second book. Yes, so May 18th, and it's basically about four disabled children who pretty much have been going through life not loving who they are because they're disabled and they feel like they're at a disadvantage. And because of that, it's around Christmas time, and they all are just really sad. They're starting a new year at school, being teased, being picked on for being, who they are. And their teacher asked them what do they want for Christmas, and they can't think of anything. But eventually, they realize, hey, I'm really tired of being the way I am. If I could just be different, Santa could just grant me a request to be normal. So they write a letter to Santa. They take a trip to the North Pole and ask Santa to make them normal. They don't want to be the way they are anymore. And they get a key and go to a magical experience on the other side of seeing what's life like on the other side of being normal. And then when they get over there, they realize that it's not the life that they thought that it would be, and that they were made and happier the way that they were before. And with this book, I just really want to reach out to children who are disabled, and the tagline of the book is I may be different, but I make a difference. And that's what I want children to understand. So yeah, that's coming May 18th.
Yes.
I'm excited about it. We're actually going through the editing process, getting some great illustrators. And I'm excited about this book because I really feel like it's going to touch and, resonate with so many different children. Even if you aren't disabled, that you'll be able to pick it up and be inspired by it. So.
That sounds like a Christmas movie to me.
Yeah, I already actually wrote the movie. So I'm almost done with the movie. So I was like, this has to be an animation film too. I was like, this
I love how you're so casual about something so epic. You're like, I already wrote it. Like when you were talking, I could see I could see it on the screen. I was like, I know he said children's book, but I would watch that movie.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So I'm almost halfway through with the movie because God was like, okay, you have to put this into a film as well. So, and a lot of people told me that I was like, Deonte, this has to be a film as well. So it's going to be an animation film coming from it soon. So whenever God's ready, it's already there.
Good Lord. Okay, so we talking about films. The short film, The Skin I'm In. Are we at liberty to talk about this? I feel like I don't want to give out any information that's not out there, but we did talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's in pre-production. We're filming it in March of this year. We just had a table read last week, rehearsing with the cast so we can prepare for a film. But yeah, The Skin I'm In, it's a 3-part volume series. First I wrote a short film and I was trying to squeeze all these different stories into one. And I have a script consultant that I go to, and she was like, "No, you need to just make 3 stories out of this." So yeah, The Skin I'm In, it's a 3-part volume series. The first one's called Melanin Melanie. It deals with Melanie, who's a biracial woman. She grew up being biracial, and she was teased for being biracial because she was that dark skinned girls didn't like her because they felt like she wasn't black enough. So she
Haters.
kind of, had the friendships with the white girls, and she kind of took that mindset with her to adulthood, and now she has a daughter named Belly, and she's trying to teach her the same things that she, you know, believe growing up to try to protect her, but her daughter experiences racism in another way. And it just tells the story of learning how to embrace who you are and who God created you to be. Love starts within, and the tagline for that one is the fight begins from within. A lot of times we don't want to deal with our internal issues and what we go through with. And it becomes a generational curse that we start passing down to our, offspring, because we haven't dealt with those eternal issues. So yeah, and then we have another volume 2 will be The Color of Love, which I'm going to film in the future, that deals with interracial couples. And then we tell the story of Behind the Blue, which will be part 3, that deals with police brutality and stuff like that. So it's an expanding story. We're filming volume 1 this year, so hopefully it'll be coming out by the end of the year. I'm not rushing the editing process because I really want to make sure that this film is perfect. So
Yeah,
it'll be
yeah.
coming.
I mean, and it's timely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure you know that, but it's very timely.
Yeah.
I know earlier you said that you had a desire to be able to reach people and do stuff relevant now. Not to say that, what happened in the old days couldn't be relevant to today, but instead of the Moseses and the Abrahams, you have the Mishas and the
Mm-hmm.
Anthony's. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's cool that you're able to still draw that people or still draw people
Absolutely.
that way. Um,
Absolutely.
and then I checked out your website. I was doing some snooping of my own, and I found the Price of Fame and Wicked the series. What is that?
Yeah, those are upcoming series that are coming. My budget hasn't allowed me to start on those. Again, I did them in Los Angeles, but they didn't come out the way I wanted to. But it's 2 series that I have coming out. The Price of Fame, it deals with the dark side of the industry. I really wanted to shine light on what really goes on in the industry, the crab mentality. These young people are coming to Atlanta trying to pursue their various careers in the industry, and they have their own stories, the backstabbing side of the industry, who's gonna get on top first, and all those different things. So it's kind of like my, I guess my, well, it was one of the first projects I ever wrote, and it's like my guilty pleasure to a certain extent because I love drama and I love cliffhangers. So yeah, that's the Price of Fame. I was gonna start on it this year, but the guy who's actually filming The Skin I'm In, we've been talking, and he read the script and he was like, "We gotta get this filmed again soon." So I'm starting over with my series. I tried to film the series first time, and I was like, I need to do some short films, get some more experience. And then Wicked is one of my guilty pleasures as well. It's my second web series. It's about the Blanchard family who runs their church like a dynasty. I say it's like a little bit of the Saints and Sinners and Greenleaf, but a twist on it with an edge. And it's just really talking about the uh, the the sins of a family who is running a ministry in a church. It's a lot of scandals going on, a lot of things in the ministry that needs to be exposed. And I'm actually in it, and one of my characters' name is Malcolm. And we had that prophet who gets above himself and think that he knows it all and all of that.
Scary.
So it's a lot of things that I wanted to expose in Wicked that I've seen in the church. Growing up in the church, you've seen so many different things, and people laugh at some of the things I put in my scripts, but I'm like, if only you knew that this is true.
Real
That's
deal.
coming, yeah. So those are coming. I don't have dates for those, but they're already written. It's just a matter of finding the budget to put it together and do it. So.
So then I have another question. Do you sleep?
I do, but
When? When?
I
Like,
do. I'm a late person. My creativity starts to peak at night, or it can be around the day. I'm trying to train my mind to do it around the day now, but sometimes it's just like you could be up at night and I have the urge to write. But I do sleep. You got to get your rest. I try to get my 7-8 hours in, but I'm always thinking about stuff and creating things. It's just amazing.
because I'm looking at, and this is just a list of some of the stuff that we talked about today. But I'm like, you have a lot going on. So I was like, when does this man sleep? Do you rest? Rest is a ministry, sir.
Yes, I have
So,
to make sure, that I rest. But I always like to just stay productive. One of the things I want to make sure that I do when I'm 100 and something years old, lying in my bed around my great, great, great grandchildren, is to be able to say that I've left a legacy and I've left something, behind, that I've inspired people through my creativity. And I always feel like, tomorrow's not promised. So it's like we have to get started, do what we need to do now. God didn't make the world in a day, so don't feel like you had to get it all done in a day, but just be productive and be proactive. I don't like to see people sitting on their gifts. It's like God gave me so many gifts and I just want to use them to,
yeah,
and put them, when I stand before God on when I take my final breath and I'm standing before the Lord, I just want to say I was able to use everything that you've given me, and that's what I live by. So
I love that. And you are doing that, sir. You are living.
thank you.
My
Thank
goodness.
you.
So I have to ask, as if you needed anything else on your plate, but is there anything else, any other projects coming down the pipeline?
Yes.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
I do have an award show that's coming next year, but I launched it this year to start looking for talent. It's called the Bolden Awards, and it's basically an inspirational award show that I've created for creatives who are out here inspiring. We say where boldness meets greatness. So it's coming October 2022, but I launched the Facebook page and I launched the website's coming soon, and we have an Instagram page, and we're just out here looking for people who are out here making bold moves that leads to greatness. So it's just going to be an inspirational award show where creators come together. We're going to have a Power Within Power workshop, panel discussions. People just come together. A lot of times in this industry, we want to be so competitive, but I wanted to create a dynamic and an environment where people could just come together and embrace one another. We can encourage each other. I'm not your competition. You're my brother. You're my sister. Some people might come to the award show and just be down in the dumps, but they get inspiration or, just receive that encouragement. And I just want to change the dynamic of award shows. Even though I've been nominated and awarded for certain things, I just feel like sometimes when you go to these award shows, people are just so full of themselves. And it's like, we don't need to be that way. We need to, we're all here to do the same thing, and that's to love Christ and spread the message of God. So the Bolden Awards is going to change that dynamic. We're going to have workshops, we're going to have award people. There's categories that I'm sharing and dropping left and right on the pages. I just share one of them, the Prevailing Podcast Radio Show Award, those who are out here, using their platforms to provide inspiration through podcasting and radio and
Okay.
online shows. We have Accomplished Author Award. We're going to have the Bolden Award. So there's a lot of award categories that are going, 17 categories, and
Wow.
I launched that next year. So I'm just, playing by ear. I launched it this year so people could just start submitting, or, if they're doing something, they can share their work, and we'll be announcing the nominations later of the year or early part of next year. So.
I love it. So you basically created a platform where you spoke of the crab mentality earlier. It's not necessary because we're here to come together and share, and you can actually boost somebody else up and be okay with that. I anything that has to do with like encouragement and positivity, sir, I love it. I am all about it.
Thank
So
you.
kudos, man.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. I'm scared to ask, is there anything else coming down the pipeline? So I'm not. What I'm going to do right now, where can my people find you? Anyone listening or watching? If you want to give websites, social media handles, phone numbers, whatever, like, where can my people find you?
Yes, so if you want to get in contact with me, I have a website. It's called www.deonte, DeonteBolden Productions.com. It's Deonte Bolden Productions on all of my social media, except for Twitter. Twitter, I think it's just Deonte Bolden, but Instagram, Facebook, you can find me on there as well. And if you just go to my website, it's the links to all of my social media accounts on there, so you can be able to get it to the corner when you first get onto the website. And then it's my book will pop up right when you get on there as well. And we have merchandise coming for the Bolden Awards, and production company, and DNA Podcast has their merchandise on there as well. And yeah, just stay in contact with me.
Yes, please do. I just feel like, oh my gosh, it's like I'm really excited about a lot of stuff that you have coming down, but especially the one that sounded like a Christmas movie. I'm all over that one. So wait, you said it was coming out in March for your birthday, right?
May. So Differently Abled is the children's book, and it's coming out May 18th. 2021.
Yes.
So that'll be coming soon. So hopefully I'll be getting my illustrator on it soon, so I can be able to show the cover for everyone. So I can, I just been quiet about it a little bit, but I wanted to share it on here with you. But that's coming soon. So I'm super, super excited about it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm really excited about all that you're doing. I pray that God would bless your finances, that he would bless your budget, that he would send people that would walk alongside you, that he would send people that would journey with you, that he would send people that would impart wisdom and grace into your life.
Same for
you.
You
got a lot going on, and I want you to be able to be fruitful and do all that, man.
Thank you. Same with you. I pray that God continue to expand your platform, whatever it is you want to take this vision. I love the title of it, because it just resonates with so many different people, because we are different.
Yeah.
We need to embrace who we are. And I just appreciate you just inviting me on here to speak with you today. I'm excited.
I'm really excited that you took the time to do so. I'm always humbled because I know, like I said, everyone has so much going on. So I'm always humbled when someone can take the time to come in and share with me and my listeners. So I really appreciate you and your time, sir.
Thank you. And I'll be back anytime. I would love to come again when the book comes out.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I was really going to ask. I was like, should I do it? But yes, that would be so great. Yeah, I'm really excited.
Absolutely.
I'm for real. I'm not joking. I know, because a lot of times we'll be like, ooh, let's connect another time. But I'm serious. Look at my face.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see.
All right, my lovely ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for spending another morning with We Are Not So Different. Until next time, be good to each other. Love y'all. We are not so different.